welcome everybody to the Recreate the Future podcast. I have the honor today to sit here with Uriah from Cubee 3D.
Hello.
So thanks for taking the time and being here with us. Maybe do you want to take a minute to briefly introduce yourself and give us an overview of like who you are?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Uriah. I'm currently in Tel Aviv. Cubee is a company that's US and Tel Aviv based. I actually come from a background of philosophy, arts, and education. I was an art salesman before starting Cubee, along with my industrial designer partner, Oded. And yeah, I came into the space because of my love of art and design, actually.
Yeah, you just mentioned Odette. I think he was the one who introduced us to each other. And just as a background, so with Enable 3D, we are already using the Cubee 3D platform because we really love your concept. And to give, I think the best way to start is that you maybe give us a short introduction of what Cubee is, because I think it's very unique in the additive manufacturing space so far.
So the question of what Cubee is one that we've been talking about and toying with because it's more than the sum of its parts. But basically, right now, Cubee is a center that we're building for commercial licensing of 3D models and design. But it's a part of a bigger ecosystem called the Cubeeverse, which we started in 2021 as a marketplace for distributed additive manufacturing, basically mapping the whole world with 3D printers and enabling products to be locally made anywhere, when and whenever they're needed. And that is serving designers, enabling them to take their catalogs and designs and to commercialize them. It's helping manufacturers or small 3D print shops to actually grow their 3D business locally. It's helping small businesses that have no technological capabilities to gain access to products that are created on demand, especially for them, that are very, very unique and cut the whole supply chain in half, so they don't have to work with China, for example. And it also just creates a greener, better world because we're reducing excess production and overseas shipping.
Yeah, thanks for the overview. As far as I've understood, to put it into my simple terms, so far, basically, you are the guys connecting the inventory of designers with digital files to very decentralized small print shops around the world. Correct?
That is 100% correct. And there's another link in that chain, which is the person who benefits from actually getting the design, because the print shops are using the designs in order to sell them. So we're commercializing these designs, giving small manufacturers anywhere in the world the power to have these designs. But at the end of the day, the vision and the goal is that these are incredible products that are locally made, that reach end consumers or small businesses that then utilize them. So this is why we're doing this. But our biggest link in the chain is, we have amazing design catalogs, basically art that is digital, and we have these makers and manufacturers that are locally creating them and turning them into something real in the world.
Nice. So when I first saw your concept, I was very much reminded of like I saw, I think it was an Amazon Prime series couple of months ago, where one of the main actors was working in a print shop. And the crazy thing is, it was like playing in the future. It was like the whole story was based in like 50 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
So how far is already this concept of print shops? Because I think this has already been a vision in additive manufacturing for quite some while.
Yeah, so we got to think about the vision for a second, or the narrative. 10 years ago, if I would have told you that by 2023 we will all have 3D printers in our homes, and we will all order, you said Prime, so we will order through Amazon, and a product will appear in our living room, we would have believed this narrative. This was what people thought will happen. This was the vision for the future. that broke because of technological issues, because there still needs to be some sort of expertise in it. But what has happened over the years since that big hype and that dream crash, and that's what Cubee is all about. It's like, we're saying, okay, there will not be a 3D printer in every home, I don't think, but there will be one in. I don't have a 2D printer anymore in my home. We've taken these things out of our confined and intimate space into something that is more collaborative. There will be a 3D printer or a 3D print shop in every neighborhood, right? There will be 3D printed products used by any business. And where have we gone so far? We've finally reached the point where smaller and affordable machines can create products that are in high enough quality and low enough price points where it's fit for end consumer use. Because most of additive manufacturing was used for either hardcore industry, plane parts are being printed, car parts are being printed, or for prototyping, right? Anything that we're thinking about manufacturing traditionally, we're first going to quickly 3D print and just see the prototype, see how it works. Not anymore. Cubee is all about, and it's finally there, products that, a small printer makes for low cost that has real value and real beauty in it, and people are enjoying. And we've finally reached that stage where more and more products, and it's just growing exponentially every year. When we started Cubee, 90% of the products that are now being commercialized through Cubee it was not relevant for the technology. The machines were not good enough and the material was too expensive, right? People were charging $20 an hour for printing. Now they're charging $1 an hour for printing, right? And the quality is so much better. So it was amazing. It's amazing to see this change and unfold. And the cool part is that more and more machines are coming in, and more materials are coming in.
Yeah.
So it's just every year is changing.
We definitely need to talk about the material side, because I think this is one of the biggest levers for the entire technology. But first of all, you said you don't believe there will be a 3D printer in every single household. I completely agree with you. And for me, it's a problem, because with Enable 3D, all of the brand customers are asking the same question, like how many 3D printers are out there in the households? And then I always tell them, according to statistics, it's 2 to 5% in European countries. But the problem is, or the good thing is, not everybody needs a printer. You just need access to a printer. And this can be at your workplace, at school, university, your neighbor, your uncle, or the best case, the print shop around the corner. Because the crazy thing is, this morning I was going by bike to the office, and I realized, like, 100 meters from my apartment, there's a copy shop, like a 2D copy shop, and it's huge. It's like 150 square meters inside.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a university, okay, but obviously people are still going there. So the question for you is, when can I finally use this shop again for 3D printing? Because obviously they are still having a 2D printing business as of now.
So I think these things coexist, and I think the reason 2D businesses you still see them bigger in the physical or more commercialized areas is also just because the 3D printers of that university will be inside the university in a laboratory. It's just it was introduced in a different point in time, so the world sees it differently. The answer is you have access. I mean, Cubee still has a marketplace for on-demand 3D printing with over 2,500 3D print shop anywhere. If you go now into Cubee, I'm sure that you will find a very, very local manufacturer that will create something that you need just like that. The bigger bureaus, I'm not sure they're going to choose, because the whole logistical world has changed over the past 10 years. And I don't know how long that copy shop has been around, but if it's a copy shop, it's probably been around for quite a while. And because logistics has changed, maybe you want a less commercialized area to do it. Maybe the print shops are going to be inside people's, garages or homes, or you don't need something too big to support a neighborhood or to support a few businesses around you. So I think it's already there, just a little bit underwater, because not everybody walks around knowing that they need something 3D printed. The consumer does not care how something is made. They care about that it's made responsibly. more and more. They care about that. We're going to talk about materials later, that it's greener, right? They care that it's local, but they don't care about the manufacturing process. They need something. With 2D printing, it's simpler because we just have so many needs for, a piece of paper to print something. And for 3D printing, it's that mental jump that the consumer might make someday. But even if they don't, it does not matter because the infrastructure is already in place. Yeah. But what you say to your clients, that's 100% right. They're asking the wrong question. That does not matter if they have a printer in their house. What matters is how many of them have access to 3D printing and more so the knowledge that they have access. Everybody has access, but the knowledge that they have access, and the knowledge that they know that technology is around the corner. Yeah.
I was just basically had a small jump to your website because I really love the Cubee map, and this is a map where you can see. I'm going to put it into the episode description. And you really should check it out because you can zoom in and you can perfectly see where there's a print shop available. So there are a couple of here in our Frankfurt region where we are based. And last time we spoke, there was even one on Sardinia. So this is like really, really crazy to see where they're popping up. And I think once with Odette, I had this experiment, like how many are based in Manhattan. I think it was 45 just alone in Manhattan. It was crazy. Yeah. How do we have to imagine like a typical print shop as of now?
So the beautiful part is that it can start with a person with a machine or two, right? This is how most people start their printing business or side hustle. It could be people that have their day job, they go to work, but while they're at work, the machine works, and while they're going to sleep, the machine works. Right? This is how most people start. That's what's sustainable about starting a 3D printing business. Mainly, oftentimes it's also a semi-hobby. People just love this creating things. And then what we define as an established print shop is 5 or more machines. We're in contact with print shops that have over 1,000 machines, right? And these already become these gigantic warehouses in Australia, in the United States, in China. That are already doing mass manufacturing for this. Today, it is said that any part that you want to produce under 100,000 times, it will be cheaper to 3D print rather than to go to plastic injection molding.
Yeah, due to the tooling cost and everything. Okay, so I mean, I know a couple of guys doing printing on the side, and we have this community printing program ourselves. So I know this type of, at least this European type, but there are some like really exotic destinations like on the Cubee map. So how does it also work in more remote places, which are not like where there may be like difficult questions, or where they have different use cases. I've seen there a lot in Latin America, for example,
exactly.
And I assume this is a different game.
Yeah, exactly. So when we started Cubee, we had this presumption of creating this one platform where anybody who needs to 3D print something will go. Anybody who's looking for a 3D printed product will go to that one platform. Anybody who wants to provide a service will just sign up and then get jobs. Like we had this, we were a little bit naive, and we had to change as we developed, and we talked to more and more people in more and more locations. And now what we're doing is just what we want to do for the manufacturer is just to create a different set of tools to help them do whatever is best in their area. The reason we're focusing on commercial licensing of 3D printed products is what we've realized is when I try to bring a customer to Cubee to buy a beautiful lampshade that is 3D printed, I'm competing on marketing budget or on attention with Amazon and Etsy, because that consumer just shopped on Amazon, just shopped on Etsy, and I'm this small, startup. So the shift that we did is we just want to give tools to the manufacturers. So these manufacturers that are living in Sardinia, for example, right? They might not be getting, they don't have a line of people coming to Cubee knocking on their door saying, hey, I need to 3D print this. Hey, I need to 3D print that. But what they do have is an amazing catalog of products that they can go and then post on other platforms. And that's where they meet their clients. And that's how they are able to boost their business in those areas. So it really depends on what the maker wants to do. Do they want to do custom design, on-demand printing, or e-commerce sales, or even start building their own brand, right? We want to empower each and every one of those types of businesses and help you find the right path. Because again, the big vision here is that we do want to be this ecosystem, but we don't have to be a centralized ecosystem. We want to be a decentralized ecosystem that's just, and anywhere we go, we just enable 3D printed parts to be a bigger part of the market.
The first time I understood your concept, I think a little bit better was when I saw an Etsy page with one of those mushroom shelves.
Yes.
Because the crazy thing is, obviously, as far as I've understood, those are like one of your probably most popular designs.
All-time bestseller. The Gazaladra fungi mushroom shelves. They're incredible designs. They're still unique.
And I mean, it's so crazy to see them popping up everywhere, like small
mushrooms.
mom and pop shops. Like they're popping up like mushrooms. But on Etsy, you see them on Amazon, you see them on small direct-to-consumer shops, and suddenly, what I realized was, all right, there is a designer somewhere who had a really nice idea. Obviously, he brought the design to Cubee, and then you have something like a multiplier effect, bring it to those shops. And I don't know, maybe there are even like offline sales where people go to flea markets selling them.
Yes.
And that's for me really like the crazy part where everything gets out of this digital world into some kind of reality. So this is what I really love about the approach. So maybe this is like a good time to jump into this topic of commercial licenses, because I'm thinking a lot about it, honestly, because there's on the one side, there's this world of Thingiverse and Reddit hobby licenses where everything is open source and, hey, I have an idea. This is my design, remix it, do whatever you want with it. Feel free to do so. And this is like super important for the ecosystem. But as far as I understand, your approach is way different because you take professional designs and it has an official license. Or can you maybe explain how it works?
Yeah. So now we're focusing on the designer, which is the most important part, in my opinion, for this industry, because those are the creators. And as you said, the magic of additive manufacturing, 3D printing, is that it's something that we create in the digital realm and we import it to the physical world. Whereas generative AI and the world's going to go crazy in the software side, right? The physical world is where we still have control over the machines for now. So the designer is the artist, is the creator that imagines something, and through the amazing software that's out there creates the design. And today, in this closed off hobbyist community, designs are being shared, sold, even, but not really monetized. And most designers that we talk to, and I'm talking about world-class artists, are working other jobs because they make $200 a month from whatever, selling their designs on Cults, which is a design marketplace, or many designers are actually sharing them for free. And the idea here is, designers should be paid for their work, and B, they should be incentivized to do more and more and more of these designs. And the shift that we decided, we stumbled upon this by accident, because again, we started off as this centralized platform where we said, designers will upload their designs and anybody could buy them. And if they buy them, the designer would get paid. Commercial licensing came when we realized, okay, we want to go to other platforms, and how do we do that? So we looked at the music industry and how commercial licensing worked there, and we decided to kind of copy it. And the idea here came, there were two main points to the difference we had to do with just giving somebody access to a design or paying for a design to what we're actually doing. And that is, when we commercial license a 3D design, we needed to actually sell well. We need to be a very, very good design. And we need a whole ecosystem around the design to help it work. And there are two main things for that. The first one would be exclusivity. if a design is shared, distributed between, a million different people online, then you will see it everywhere and anywhere, and there'll just be too much competition. You can't really monetize it properly, and there will be loss of control. So the first thing we did is, for high-end designs, we're saying not anybody can sell it. There are only 50 licenses, 50 permits to sell this design worldwide. So you see these mushrooms everywhere, but there are only 50 sellers that are enjoying this, right? Because they were fast enough to find that bestseller and buy that catalog. The second thing is the content around the metadata of that design. So it's not just a 3D STL file, because when somebody sells it, you have to print it, take a picture. I mean, I'm sure you've dealt with this, right? Taking the pictures, all these things. So the bundle already comes prepared.
So Cubee is also not just offering the sole design data in terms of STL or whichever file format, but also like the content around it to be equipped to sell directly right away.
Yeah, sell it or market it, because many people use it as templates for their clients, or use it for marketing for other products, right? But yes, we realized that when we started talking to manufacturers and to designers and see like what differentiates a designer, why is a designer more successful, it was almost always the support of how to make this product. Is this product easy for manufacturing, and the content, the pictures of it. And the manufacturers, that was their biggest pain points. They're like, oh, I have a lot of failed prints. This model is not good enough, or I don't know how to print it well. Plus, if I get access to a file, I still have to print it. I have to print it well. I have to take different pictures of it. I have to post it to Etsy. There's all this different work. And we just said, oh, okay. So we need to hand curate these amazing catalogs. And when we when we commercial license them, they already will come with all this, less print fails, better content. And this is how the win-win situation works. Yeah.
Nice. Designers, as you know, we have worked with a couple of designers in the last month. So I think like Alesh, who you already also have on the platform, he's also going to be in the podcast in a later episode.
Amazing.
Because I think because I want to see the designer's perspective on all of that. But maybe jumping to a brand perspective, because our core business is with brands, and I'm thinking a lot about how the supply chain and value chain of brands is going to change. So do you think brands will be like a following step after the designers, or do you think there's too much conflict about giving up this kind of control for a brand?
This is really, really interesting. So the thing about the ecosystem, if we break up the Cubee ecosystem, you have the designer, you have the manufacturer, and you have the seller of the product. And you could be all three at once. You could be two of them. And the brand can emerge from each one of these sides. So, for example, Alish Baum, he's one of the top designers in 3D printing out there. And he's a brand, right? He's an incredible, hardworking brand. So if you commercialize Alice Boom Designs, if you're a store that has, a storefront in New York City and you're selling products, you will want to feature Boehm as the brand in 90% of the cases. But some of these stores that want to sell these 3D print designs are brands themselves. They have a following, they're building their own brand, and what they want to do is they want to curate their own amazing set of products from different parts of the world and then put that under their own brand. So what they would do is they would basically white label different products. They'd probably not get Alice Bohm designs because, you're paying for the brand, and find products that they can incorporate into their own brand. And manufacturers who are selling on their own can do the same thing, right? Many manufacturers are taking different designs saying, I want to be a brand. But for Cubee, what's the most important part is I want to become this record label for designers. This is my vision for a designer. A designer that works with me, I want to be their record label and I want to commercialize them. And building a brand out of a designer, that's the most important thing, because we're in a world where it's a digital product. It could be easily copied, could be easily manipulated. And the real authenticity here is the brand. And then obviously the code behind the design will help us with making sure it's original. We're incorporating NFC chips into products now, so you can actually make sure that it's an original product, but turning a designer into a brand that provides a lot of value to all sides of this ecosystem.
And I fully get your point, but the question that I'm really interested in is: do you think like a Mercedes-Benz? So let's go into like the highest shelf of brands. Do you think at some point in time they will be willing to go into this like super decentral kind of production? Because
Yes.
I'm sometimes comparing it to Apple, because for me, Apple, it's not a manufacturer, because basically the manufacturer is Foxconn, for example, and they are more like a design and engineering studio. Like they are developing engineering and engineering, but they're not into manufacturing. And I mean, do you think the super decentralized approach could replace someone like Foxconn in the future?
I think the more complex the manufacturing process is, the harder it will be and the longer it will take. And I think the main exciting change here is not that all these bigger brands will go into super decentralized manufacturing. I don't see Walmart manufacturing in 10,000 different locations in the United States right away. But the important thing is that these big corporations, they will tap into decentralized networks. So even if I'm a big IKEA and I don't now all of a sudden immediately start manufacturing in, because quality control is like super important for these, right? So if you're a smaller brand, you could easily incorporate through this decentralized platform. You can easily start manufacturing in 20 different countries tomorrow, and quality control will be better than what you expect and exceed your standard. But when you're these huge corporations, it's obviously a lot more complicated legally and in any other terms. But what's important is to get them to tap into decentralized networks, not just utilize them completely or 100%. So if you can get them to split their manufacturing or start manufacturing in every single state in the United States as a first step, that's something that I do see happening. And it also doesn't have to be the entire process, right? It's different parts, right? More and more parts are relevant for this form of manufacturing. And what will drive that change is finance at the end of the day, right? These companies look for what makes more sense financially. But ethically is also going to play a part, because now consumers care about the ethical part of it as well.
Yeah. Do you think, or maybe to give us a very short answer on like, do you think spare parts could be, because I'm very often looking into spare parts because we are working with technical companies. Do you think this could be like a small step in between? Because often you're not talking about the product itself. It's very complicated. The availability is a nightmare of spare parts. The supply chain of spare parts is a nightmare. And although they're sometimes super expensive, they're not very profitable due to the shelf life or shelf time. Do you think this could be like a small step in between?
Yes.
To a more decentralized production for brands?
Yes, 100%. I think spare parts and also just complementary parts of a specific, product. So we're seeing like use cases where a product has there's the main part that's being manufactured in a centralized way and sold, but all these different add-ons are outside. Spare parts are a huge opportunity here, and it solves a huge problem to the consumer, to small businesses, and to everybody along the way. The problem is it really depends on what that spare part does inside a product, because again, quality control and health hazards are going to be the scary things, or the things that scare these big companies from giving it away. But we're already seeing IKEA, for example, starting to work with Printables, which is a marketplace of 3D models owned by Prusa, and they're going to enable.
Gonna be in the podcast in the next episode as well. So you see, I have a good selection here.
Okay. So now I feel honored that all these names that you mentioned now are going. So I'm really excited now. So they're going to do it, and it's a huge step, because as soon as a company like that does that, then more and more companies will do it as well. And I think that's just really good. That's just really awesome for anybody who who deals with finding spare parts, looking for them. The process here is to digitalize. I mean, it's digitalized, but the process here is to convince these different organizations to basically release these spare parts. And I think Cubee is on the road to say, hey, you can release them, but still monetize them if that's important to you, or you can open source them, which is also really really great. So they'll have that choice. But yes, it's a huge step on the way.
All right. So I see the 30-minute mark. I try to keep it to 30 minutes. So let's get to an end here, because I think there was already so much crazy valuable stuff inside. So maybe as a last question, like what kind of development you see as like the super expert in your field is currently completely under the radar and underestimated by most people?
I think the fact that with this ecosystem of decentralized manufacturing, of the fact that there's an army of 3D manufacturers that are also a sort of a community, the virality of manufacturing is just unbelievable. The fact that something can happen in the world and the reaction to it could be a physical product that within a day appears in thousands of locations across the world with no need for any logistics. That is the superpower of what's happening. And that's what people still don't realize, how amazing that can be. That a brand can publish a product and boom, it's everywhere all at once. A launch can happen without manufacturing one piece. That is the incredible superpower, and we're there. We're there. Yeah.
All right. So amazing last thought for takeaways. So thanks so much for taking the time. Thanks so much for keeping in the time limit. This was my biggest fear, but I think we made it. So was a really great episode. So thanks a lot. And as you've heard, there are going to be many more brands and players in the ecosystem that Uriah already mentioned. So look out for the next episodes, and thanks.